The series starts with a tense moment as Run, a student, runs away from homeschool, chased by a staff member. The staff catches him quickly with a tranquilizer and takes him back. At the same time, a group of parents is taking entrance tests and interviews at the school, all hoping to improve their children's futures through homeschool special programs. In the student lounge, everyone waits anxiously for the entrance results. Headmaster Yanni comes in and calls the scholarship applicants to go with her to the principal's office for their interviews. Mr. Amin meets Maki and Tibet there, asking why they want to join homeschool. He likes their answers and accepts them into the school. At her orphanage, Maki receives her acceptance letter from homeschool and moves into the boarding school. She is shown her dorm room, given her uniform, and directed to the garden for a welcome party. The party is lively, with new students eating chocolate cookies. Mr. Amin and Headmaster Yanni join them, welcoming them as the sixth group of homeschool students and explaining the school rules. Suddenly, the lights go out, causing panic among the students, who then pass out after eating the drug cookies. The next day, they wake up groggy on a bus heading to a secret homeschool location. When they arrive, Mr. Amin welcomes them again, stressing that mobile phones are banned at the school. Headmaster Yanni collects all the phones and locks them away. Over the next days, the strict rules of homeschool become clear. Mr. Amin and Mrs. Yanni repeatedly remind the students of the rules, warning of harsh punishments for breaking them. The students' daily schedule involves waking up early and going to bed early. They have to cook their own meals, but since only Maki knows how to cook, she ends up making food for everyone. A few days later, Mr. Amin gathers the Generation 6 students and reminds them that the challenges they are facing are not new. Earlier groups had gone through the same situations. The students tell him they want to go home, but Mr. Amin questions what home really means, leaving the room quiet. He warns them that they must stay on school grounds and avoid the forest. Despite his warning, some rebellious students decide to run into the forest. Maki, Tibet, Penyuing, and others are sent to bring them back. However, disagreements among the escapees slow them down, and most of them, except for 3, decide to return to homeschool, realizing the forest is too big and scary. They meet up with Maki's group and head back, but Headmaster Yanni insists that everyone must be brought back. As night falls, the 3 remaining students get into more arguments. Feeling chased and hearing distant cries for help, the 2 boys leave Jinglai behind. Jinglai tries to follow them, but trips and hurts her ankle. The boys find a staff member who takes them back to homeschool. Meanwhile, Maki's group finds Jinglai and helps her, just as the staff member confirms that all students are safe and orders them back to the school. Back at the school, Mr. Amin talks to the students, rephrasing his earlier question about home. He explains that home is a safe place and that they must be like a home for each other. The students then go to their dorms, but Maki stays behind, noticing a framed picture of Run on the wall. She realizes that Run is her older brother and that her real name is Ren. Maki confronts Mr. Amin about her brother, but while he speaks kindly of Run, he avoids telling her where he is with a mysterious smile. The next morning, the Generation 6 students gather outside for their daily exercise. Master Champ, the gym teacher, makes them run laps around the lake, saying it is the easiest exercise despite their complaints. After running, they return to the common room, where Master Phoban serves breakfast. The students enjoy the tasty meal, but are disappointed when they learn they can only have 1 serving each. Later that day, Mr. Amin introduces the teaching staff of homeschool to the students and announces that there will be no regular classes for the first week. Instead, he gives a special assignment. Each student must take care of a pet duck, warning that they will be punished if they fail to look after it properly. Each student gets a duckling, and they quickly work together to take care of them. Some students start building shelters, while Maki and Penyuing go out to collect food. Among the students building the shelters, 3 of them don't help and let others do all the work. When Maki and Penyuing return with food, 2 of these lazy students play a mean trick on Penyuing, causing him to trip and fall. They pretend to help him, but keep bothering him, which causes Penyuing to have a panic attack. A fight breaks out, but Mrs. Yanni steps in and sends them all inside for lunch. The lunch bread is stale, and when the students complain, Master Phoban refuses to give them fresher bread. After lunch, they go back to their ducklings. Penyuing names his duck Baby Duck, and the others also name their ducks, becoming more attached to them over the next few days. Mr. Amin later asks what they have learned from caring for the ducks. When the students stay quiet, he tells them they need more time to understand the lesson. Frustrated, the students say the task seems pointless, but Mr. Amin promises a big reward for those who take good care of their ducks until a certain day. Hearing about the reward, the students feel motivated and put more effort into caring for their ducks. However, the same two boys who teased Penyuing earlier continue to misbehave, forcing him to take care of their ducks too. Meanwhile, Jinglai, who still has a sore leg, asks for help from her friends. That evening, a storm hits, so Penyuing takes his duck and the bully's ducks inside to protect them from the bad weather. The next morning, they find the duck house destroyed by the storm, and the ducks are missing. To avoid getting in trouble, the students start searching frantically for the lost ducks. By the end of the day, they only find one duckling. The rest are still missing. They ask Penyuing for help, and he manages to find all the ducklings by nighttime. But since the duck house is still broken, the group goes into the forest to gather materials to fix it. While searching, Maki and her friends find an old temple surrounded by wire fencing. They are curious, but just as Maki is about to explore, Master Prazit arrives and takes them back to homeschool. Later that night, Hugo and Jinglai go outside to talk about their relationship. During their conversation, Jinglai sees that one of the ducklings has died. They realize it belongs to Hugo, so Mr. Amin calls everyone to a midnight meeting. At the meeting, Mr. Amin mistakenly says the dead duckling belongs to Penyuing and announces his punishment. The group protests, saying it's not Penyuing's duckling, but Mr. Amin ignores them and sends Penyuing away. The next morning, breakfast is served by Miss Yani, who mentions a special ingredient. The students are horrified to realize they are eating their own ducklings. Shocked and angry, they confront Headmaster Yani, who tells them this is their punishment. Despite the chaos, the headmaster announces the start of the academic term and demands all students attend class on time. The students run outside, panicked, to check on their ducklings, only to find them gone. Angry at the school's actions, they refuse to go to class and gather outside instead. Master Prazit approaches and asks why they aren't in class, but they refuse to attend and run away. They don't get far before Master Foban stops them, and Master Prazit forces them back to the classroom. Inside, Master Prazit locks the door, making sure no one can leave, and starts the lesson. He tells them to write confessions about any mistakes they've made since coming to homeschool, saying no one can leave until everyone finishes. The next morning, Maki wakes up suddenly from a dream about her brother Run. Realizing they are late for morning exercise, she wakes up the other girls, though some are reluctant. They hurry to join Master Champ, where some of the boys are already running laps around the lake. The latecomers are made to sit and watch, adding to their frustration. That morning's breakfast is unappetizing, burnt, and poorly cooked food. The students complain to the headmaster, but she coldly tells them it's part of their punishment, and they must eat what they are given. Later, Maki and another student, White, go to the headmaster to ask about Penyuing and if they can visit him. Mrs. Yani, the headmaster, reassures them that Penyuing is being taken care of and allows them to see him after their classes. In the next class, the students face a difficult math lesson with Master Deluxe. Each student gets an answer sheet that they must fill out correctly. If even one student fails, the whole class gets more questions. Although they're unhappy with these strict rules, the students follow them. Meanwhile, Penyuing has a panic attack in detention. Master Foban gives him a sedative to calm him down, then leaves, leaving Penyuing upset and complaining about being locked up. It turns out that avoiding confinement was the reason Penyuing came to homeschool. Later, Maki and White visit Penyuing in detention, bringing him some food. They talk about his duck, but Penyuing explains that the duck that died didn't belong to any student. Maki suggests that the duck incident might have been planned by the teachers, and White shares her opinion that the punishments at homeschool are too harsh. They confront the teachers to ask if they were behind the duck's death, but they don't get any clear answers. That night, White, Maki, and two other students talk about why they're being treated so harshly. White angrily says that some adults enjoy tricking and hurting kids, explaining that she came to homeschool to escape her controlling aunt. Maki guesses that a duck did die, but it wasn't Penyuing's. As they discuss their situation, Mr. Amin watches them from a balcony with a knowing smile. During dinner, Master Foban gives Jinglai an extra plate and tells her to start delivering meals to Pinyuing. The next day is even harder, with Master Champ making the tired students do extra push-ups. After he leaves, telling them to do more exercises, Hugo stands up and complains about the extreme punishment. Maki says that their trouble started because someone wrongly blamed Pinyuing. This encourages the students to support Hugo and Jinglai, asking them to tell the truth. Hugo finally admits to Mr. Amin that it was his duck that died, not Pinyuing's, and confesses that he switched the name tags because he panicked. Mr. Amin reveals that he knew the truth all along. He then gives the students a lesson about honesty and says that the punishments are over. He explains that all the ducklings are alive and that the dead duck was just part of a test. With Pinyuing cleared of blame and the ducks returned, he goes back to taking care of them. Hugo and Jinglai apologize to Pinyuing, and he kindly forgives them. The students are called to the meeting room, where Mr. Amin, along with the teachers, announces that Maki will be the new student president of Generation 6. In his office, Mr. Amin explains Maki's duties and how important it is for her to help the teachers keep order. Curious about why he chose her, Maki asks if she reminds him of someone from his past. Mr. Amin hints that she might meet this person one day, making Maki feel both excited and curious. That evening, Mr. Amin gathers the students again to announce that one student will be allowed to go home for a short time over the weekend. However, the students themselves must decide who gets to go by voting. The next day, during Master Freyafon's class, the students are asked to write letters to their parents about their time at homeschool. Master Freyafon says that anyone who doesn't want to write a letter can skip the assignment. Some boys start playfully wrestling, while others focus on writing their letters. Fuji starts her letter, but stops as memories of her father's harsh behavior before she left for homeschool upset her. Later, the students discuss who should be allowed to go home, with each student making their case. Fling asks for the chance, saying that going home would help her feel better. That night, in the boys' dorm, Mek asks his friends who they plan to vote for, only to find out that no one is voting for him. Meanwhile, Jean tries to win votes by promising 1 million baht to those who vote for him. Pinyuing objects, calling it bribery, but Jean argues that it's just a way to get back home. One boy points out that Jean's promise is pointless because they're stuck at homeschool and it would be years before they could even get the money. The next day, Mek tries a different approach with the girls, promising to help them for a whole year if they vote for him. Twin mocks Mek, saying he's desperate because he doesn't have money like Jean. White says she plans to vote for someone like Pinyuing, who has truly suffered during his time at the school. She later turns down Jean's offer of money when he tries to bribe her. At the same time, some students are cleaning the garden when Fling suddenly gets a headache, but she quickly goes back to work. Moments later, she pretends to faint, and her friends rush her to the infirmary. After they leave, Fling gets up, showing that her illness was fake, just to get sympathy so she could go home. The next morning in the kitchen, Fling purposely cuts herself while chopping lettuce and cries, saying she wants to be with her mom. Fuji, who saw Fling's act from outside the kitchen, confronts her, but Fling denies it. Later, while the students are studying in the common room, Bua asks where Fling is. White tells her that Fling was last seen in the kitchen, so Bua goes there and finds Fling pretending to be unconscious on the floor. That night, Fling wakes up in the infirmary with Master Freyafon sitting next to her. He encourages her to talk about her problems, and Fling breaks down, admitting she really wants to go home. The next day, Mrs. Yanni, the headmaster, announces that Fling has won the vote to go home. Fuji stands up and challenges the vote, accusing Fling of faking her illness and hurting herself on purpose. During their argument, Mr. Amin enters the room and questions Fling's honesty, showing video proof of her hurting herself. He then announces that because of these lies, no student will be allowed to go home, saying they are not ready for that privilege, and leaves. Fling starts crying as her friends walk away, including Bua, her closest friend. Later, in the girls' dorm, Fling tries to apologize, asking why she is being ignored, but the others scold her for lying, and Fong leaves the room upset. Maki and White arrive and scold the group for not giving Fling a chance to say sorry. Worried when they can't find her, they start looking for Fling, but can't find her anywhere. Maki suggests telling the teachers just as White spots Fling on the balcony, looking like she's about to jump. The students quickly gather around Fling, convincing her to step away from the edge. Tibet assures her that no one hates her and that hurting herself is not the answer. Fling, crying, moves away from the ledge. She tries to make up with Bua, but Bua stays silent and turns away. Maki tells Fling to be patient, as Bua might forgive her with time. Soon after, Mrs. Yanni calls everyone to the meeting room, announcing a surprise test the next day. The students worry, feeling unprepared and fearing they will fail since they haven't studied much. Mrs. Yanni explains that the test will check what the students have actually learned at homeschool. On exam day, Mr. Amin tells them that the test will have 3 rounds, and the student who passes all 3 will get the special privilege of using their phone at school. He encourages them to do whatever it takes to succeed, making Hugo smile knowingly. Mr. Amin reminds them not to feel bad about failing, adding that only one student, Run, has ever passed all 3 rounds, making Maki curious about who Run is. The students are allowed to choose the subjects they feel most confident in for the exams. Maki, Tibet, and Fling choose the English exam, while White, Pinyuing, Hugo, and Jinglai select math. Nai, Fuji, and Mok decide on history. Mek and Jin go for the physical education exam, and Bua picks agriculture. As the exams begin, Mr. Amin wishes everyone good luck. Hugo and Jinglai, who chose math to use Pinyuing's skills, work with White after a brief argument and manage to solve the problems together. In the English exam, Maki, Tibet, and Fling work well together and pass. In the history exam, only Nai passes while the others fail. Both Mek and Jean, along with Bua, do not pass their exams. The students who pass move on to Master Freyafon's class for the next round, which is a competitive game of musical chairs, while the students who failed watch from the meeting room, making bets on who will win. The rules are loose, and when Hugo asks, Master Freyafon confirms that even using force is allowed. As the game goes on, the competition gets rougher. Tibet pushes Hugo out of his chair, and White does the same to Jinglai. In the end, everyone except Hugo and Jinglai manages to find a seat, with one chair still empty. In a sudden move, Hugo tells Jinglai to take Fling's chair, and she does, causing an uproar. White yells at Jinglai for being so ruthless, accusing her of being heartless, but Jinglai argues that she's just playing by the rules. Their argument grows, upsetting Pinyuing so much that he has a panic attack. In the middle of all this, Tibet suddenly stands up from his chair, catching everyone's attention and stopping the fight for a moment. Seeing how the chairs have caused so much tension, Tibet gets angry and, in a dramatic move, picks up his chair and smashes it on the ground, breaking it. Master Freyafon watches all this closely but decides not to step in, letting the students deal with the results of their actions. The fight between the students gets worse, turning into physical fights. White clashes with Jinglai, and Tibet and Nai fight against Hugo. In the middle of the chaos, Pinyuing has a panic attack, and Fling tries but fails to calm him down. Maki steps in, shouting at everyone to stop, saying their actions aren't helping. Tibet challenges Maki to offer a solution, and she suggests restarting the game fairly. After checking with Master Freyafon, who agrees, they restart the exam. This time, Tibet and Nai hold Hugo down. White pushes away Jinglai, and Maki, Pinyuing, and Fling quickly grab their chairs. The students who failed their exams watch eagerly from the side, cheering for Maki and her group. Headmaster Yanni approaches and asks them why they think they failed. Despite their different answers, Mrs. Yanni dismisses them, telling them to think deeply about the real reasons for their failures. Back at the game, tension rises as Jinglai pushes Maki off her chair, but Pinyuing helps Maki get her chair back. Jinglai and Hugo keep fighting over the last chair until the buzzer goes off, disqualifying them both for not sitting down in time. Master Freyafon then tells the students to take away all but one chair. Confused, the students ask if the game has changed so only one person can win. Master Freyafon explains that more than one student can still pass the round. As the game restarts, Tibet and Nai rush toward the chair, but Maki stops them, saying they were told to sit, not necessarily on the chair. Following Maki's idea, they all sit on the floor, correctly interpreting the instructions and passing the round. The last challenge takes place in Mr. Amin's office. He gives the students a blank piece of paper and tells them to figure out what it means. They have 1 hour and can use any method, but they only get one chance to guess correctly. If they guess wrong, they are immediately disqualified. After leaving Mr. Amin's office, Nye suggests that everyone work on the problem alone, since only one person will get the prize of using the phone. They agree and start experimenting with the paper, wetting it, freezing it, and heating it, but nothing shows up on the blank page. They are called back to Mr. Amin's office to share their answers. Penyuing suggests the answer is nothing, saying that some things can't be found no matter how hard you look. Mr. Amin rejects this answer and disqualifies Penyuing, giving the others another hour to solve the problem. The group goes to the lake to talk about why they won the prize. Maki admits she doesn't want to call anyone, but is curious about Mr. Amin's intentions. Ma says he wants to call his father. White thinks about calling the police to help them escape homeschool, and Tibet wants to check on his sick mother. Back in their dorm, the students decide that the real answer to the challenge is with Mr. Amin himself. They plan to return the blank sheets and suggest that Mr. Amin explain what the lesson is supposed to be. Meanwhile, Mrs. Yani confronts the students who failed their first exams, blaming their selfishness and focus on personal gain as the reasons for their failure. In contrast, Maki, White, Nye, and Tibet bring their blank sheets back to Mr. Amin, saying that the lesson should come from him. Mr. Amin praises them for working together to find the right answer and asks who they think should get the reward. They all agree to choose Tibet. However, when Tibet receives the phone, he refuses to keep it, saying he won't accept it unless everyone can benefit from it. That evening, Master Freyafon visits Mr. Amin and expresses his worries about how Run is being treated, warning that it might be doing more harm than good. Mr. Amin, however, decides to keep things the same. Meanwhile, the 4 students talk about their experiences. White thinks the day was a waste, but Maki disagrees, happy that they have grown closer as friends. Outside, Maki sees Master Prazit and Master Freyafon going into the forest and tries to follow them, but Nye stops her. Elsewhere, Mr. Amin visits Run, who is tied to a chair to keep him from escaping. He tells Run about the new Generation 6 students and mentions that Maki reminds him of Run. In a disturbing move, Mr. Amin covers Run's face with a bag, saying he plans to cure him. On the other hand, Maki and Tibet stay in the forest, talking seriously about whether they should find the masters. Maki tells Tibet about her brother, Run, who disappeared 6 years ago. She believes he is trapped inside homeschool. As they decide what to do, Master Phoban suddenly appears nearby, so Maki and Tibet hide. Tibet then suggests they should leave for now because it's too dangerous and too late to go after the masters. The next morning, in Master Deluxe's chemistry class, students are given a group project. Maki works with Tibet, Flang with Penyuing, Fuji with Jinglai, White with Nye, Hugo with Jean, and Mek with Moore. Later, in the library, Maki and Tibet work on the project with White and Nye nearby. Tibet takes this chance to talk privately with Maki about her brother. Seeing Tibet close to Maki, White wonders if there's something more going on. Nye overhears but doesn't want to get involved. That evening, Hugo and Jinglai walk back to her dorm, flirting along the way. As they are about to kiss, Headmaster Yani interrupts and sends Hugo back to the boys' dorm. The next morning, Headmaster Yani announces a new rule that bans student relationships at homeschool, making everyone upset. Even though the students complain, Headmaster Yani sticks to the rule. Later in the girls' dorm, Bayu, Fuji, and Jinglai talk about the new rule. Bayu is angry and asks how they can control their feelings. Jinglai agrees and jokes about breaking the rule by dating every boy in their class. This makes Fuji mad, and she calls Jinglai rude before angrily going to bed, leaving the room tense. The next day, Tibet, Maki, Penyuing, White, Jinglai, and Fuji are busy studying in the common room. During the study session, Fuji asks Jinglai to pass a book, but Jinglai is too busy watching Tibet and doesn't respond. Frustrated, Fuji calls out Jinglai for ignoring her, leading to an argument. As things get heated, Penyuing becomes nervous. White and Tibet step in to calm them down. Master Deluxe arrives and firmly tells them to stop fighting or they will be punished. Both Jinglai and Fuji, upset, storm out of the room. Jinglai goes outside and sits on a bench in the garden, thinking about her parents' divorce, which happened because her mother cheated. Lost in her thoughts, Hugo comes to join her, comforting her as they talk about their own relationship, giving her some relief. Meanwhile, in the library, Nai and White are focused on their work when Bayu shows up, annoyed that Mek and more aren't helping. When Nai goes to get a book, Bayu asks White how she feels about Nai, admitting she likes him too. Bayu then asks White about Nai's type, and when Nai returns, he hints that he likes someone like White. That evening, Hugo and Jinglai sit by the lake, sharing personal stories. Jinglai opens up about her parents' split, while Hugo talks about his brother, Hunter. Unknown to them, Master Foban is watching from a distance. At the same time, Master Freyaphon and Headmaster Yanni walk into the forest. Maki and Tibet try to follow them, but are stopped by Penyuang. The group heads back inside, with Tibet telling Maki they will get another chance. Late at night, Headmaster Yanni drags Jinglai out of the girls' dorm and confronts her and Hugo with Master Foban. They are taken to the punishment room, but they manage to escape, grabbing Master Foban's car keys. However, their escape plan fails when the car runs out of fuel. They decide to walk through the forest and find a police officer who offers them a ride, only to take them back to homeschool, where they face punishment for trying to run away. A few days later, Mr. Amin visits Hugo and Jinglai in the holding area and asks if they've learned from their mistakes. Their answers make him think they need more punishment. Hugo and Jinglai beg Mr. Amin to let them go, but he ignores them and leaves. In the common area, Mr. Amin announces that Hugo and Jinglai will stay punished because of their bad behavior. The other students protest, saying the punishment has gone on too long and is too strict. Headmaster Yanni calms them down, explaining that Hugo and Jinglai will be freed once they show they have really changed. Later, Headmaster Amin calls Master Freyaphon to his office and tells her to start the Lizard Challenge. Master Freyaphon worries that the students might not be ready, but Mr. Amin insists that the students are clever enough and tells her to start right away. That afternoon, Master Freyaphon gathers the students in the yard, where there is an old phone without a keypad. She explains the game rules and says they have 3 days to find the lizard, warning that there will be punishments if they fail. Each student is given an animal role to help them find the lizard. When students ask what happens if they don't join, Master Freyaphon says they will lose the letters sent to their families. Hearing this, all the students agree to play. They go to the old phone, where each gets their animal assignment. As the day goes on, the students gather in the garden. Master Prazit arrives with a big stack of books and hands out a set to each student, telling them to finish the work before their next class. Mek, however, is given double the work because of the lizard's orders. During lunch, Fuji is forced to skip his meal by the lizard, making him furious. He angrily demands the lizard to show itself. Mek and more start accusing each other of being the lizard. Master Freyaphon asks if they are sure, and when they say yes, she tells them they are wrong. Because of this mistake, Mek and more are to be held until the real lizard is found. Master Foban takes the arguing Mek and more away, leaving their classmates stunned and silent. Soon after, White, Maki, Nai, and Tibet are outside, trying to figure out who the lizard is. Master Deluxe arrives and tells Maki and White that the lizard's orders are for them to clean the whole school. Tibet and Nai offer to help with the cleaning. That night, Master Champ wakes Penyuang to tell him the lizard's command. He must run around the field for 2 hours. Since Nai and Tibet helped Maki and White when they shouldn't have, they are told to run too. Flang also joins them on the field. The next day, the lizard gives more tough orders. Fuji has to skip another meal, and the others are assigned different chores. By afternoon, the students in the common room are exhausted. Fuji starts to suspect Jean and Bayu because they have not been punished. She questions Jean's trustworthiness, mentioning how he once burned down his father's factory. Jean defends himself, saying what he did had nothing to do with their current situation. Their argument continues until Master Freyaphon steps in, reminding them their main goal is to find out who the lizard is. Later that night in the girls' dorm, Fuji tells Bayu again that she suspects Jean. Bayu defends him, but then Fuji accuses Bayu of being involved since she hasn't been punished either. Bayu strongly denies being the lizard, saying she's only a horse. They all eventually go to sleep. The next morning, everyone except Jean and Bayu is told to skip breakfast. Fuji sees this as proof that they are guilty, but Bayu and Jean decide to skip breakfast anyway to support the others. Outside, Bayu shares the truth about her father with Jean. After their talk, they face Maki's group, who question them about their animal roles. That night, Maki, White, Nai, and Tibet talk outside, and Maki suddenly suspects that Master Freyaphon might be the lizard. She points out that all the orders have come from the masters who are always watching the students. The next morning, they confront Master Freyaphon with their theory. She admits they are correct. She then tells everyone to meet in a common room to get their letters. Just before she arrives, Mek and Moore are released from detention, and Hugo and Jinglai show up looking different. However, the expected letters are missing. Master Freyaphon reveals that no letters have come back from their families, leaving the students shocked. In the principal's office, Mr. Amin tells Master Champ to start a new program for the students right away. Late at night, Hugo wakes up and stares at the wall, ignoring Tibet and Nai when they ask what's wrong, and suddenly starts yelling. At the same time, Master Prasad informs Mr. Amin that Master Deluxe has mysteriously disappeared. Angry, Mr. Amin orders Master Prasad to find and bring Master Deluxe back immediately. After sending off Master Prasad, Mr. Amin visits Run's room, showing him a video of Run to try to cheer him up and help him recover. In the forest, Headmaster Yanni and Master Prasad continue searching for Master Deluxe. The next morning, Maki, White, Nai, and Tibet meet in the library, talking about Hugo's strange behavior the night before. Maki mentions that Jinglai has been acting oddly too, not sleepwalking but still behaving strangely. During their chat, they hear Pinyuang shouting in fear from a distance. In the kitchen, Mek and Moore are having a heated argument over food. Maki and her group step in to calm things down. While the argument is still going on, Master Champ calls everyone to the courtyard. The students gather around a table where Master Champ splits them into two teams. He announces a fighting challenge where one person from each team will fight, and the losing team will not be allowed to eat. Mek and Moore are the first to fight. Mek beats Moore, but keeps attacking him even after winning. The students beg Master Champ to stop Mek, but he does nothing. Maki and White step in to stop the fight, and when Master Champ tries to stop them, Tibet blocks him but gets pushed away. In response, Nai punches Master Champ in the face. Because they went against Master Champ's orders, Maki, White, Nai, and Tibet are sent to detention, unafraid because they feel his actions were too harsh. Meanwhile, Headmaster Yanni visits Run, urging him to trust homeschool again, hinting that his sister Ren's safety might be at risk. In the boys' dorm, the boys think about the fight earlier, with Pinyuang reminding them that they were just following the master's commands. Elsewhere, Headmaster Yanni leads Maki, White, Nai, and Tibet outside and shows them the Tree of Remorse, telling them to stay there until they truly feel sorry for what they did. In the common area, Master Champ gives cooking ingredients to the white team and tells them not to share with the black team. Fling asks why they can't share, but Master Champ says they'll have to fight for food in the next round anyway. Jinglai, who was previously denied food, says she's not hungry anymore. Tired and gathered in the library, the white team discusses what to do next when Pinyuang offers some food he has saved, giving the team a much-needed energy boost. In the forest, Master Prasad and Master Phoban keep searching for Master Deluxe. They find footprints and realize Master Deluxe isn't alone. That evening, Master Champ sets up another fight for food ingredients. In the first match, Hugo faces Jingjai, but Hugo lets Jinglai win because he doesn't want to hurt her. In the next match, Fuji fights Jean and quickly knocks him out with a kick, winning the round. The next fight is between Fling and Bayu. They fight fiercely over the rope, but Fling suddenly cries and apologizes for a past lie. Both let go of the rope at the same time, ending the fight in a draw. Mek and Pinyuang are the last to compete, but they decide to let go of the rope together peacefully. Upset, Master Champ punishes them by not giving them food until Monday. The students accept this, choosing to stay hungry rather than fight each other. Meanwhile, Headmaster Yanni watches over Maki and others at the remorse tree. When Maki asks about food, Headmaster Yanni says it depends on them admitting their mistakes, but the group insists they've done nothing wrong. Suddenly, Master Deluxe's screams are heard from the forest. Headmaster Yanni tells the students to stay while she runs off, but they ignore her and follow into the woods. They find Master Deluxe scared and cornered against a tree. When asked what happened, she says that Run has returned to homeschool. She looks bruised, but doesn't remember how it happened. As the students help her, Masters Prazit and Foban arrive and start asking questions. Shortly after, Headmaster Yanni arrives and tells Master Foban to take the students back. She goes with Master Deluxe and Master Prazit to the medical facility for further care. The next day, Maki and her friends ask Master Deluxe about what happened the night before, but she can't remember anything. This makes Maki wonder if Master Deluxe's memory loss is like what Hugo and Jinglai went through. Then Pinyuing arrives and tells them to follow him quietly. They meet in a room full of students planning to escape from homeschool. Although Maki first wants to stay, her friends persuade her to join their escape plan. The group decides to steal the minibus that Master Foban uses to drive them around. They plan to distract the masters and sneak away at night. Things get complicated when Jinglai suddenly starts staring blankly at Hugo, triggered by something no one else can see. Hugo tries to help her, but she suddenly screams and faints. They take her to the infirmary, where Master Freyafon looks after her. The group considers delaying their escape, but Hugo insists they need to go right away. He even suggests they should burn down homeschool if their escape fails. That night, when all the masters are gathered in Mr. Amin's room, Fong runs in, panicked, and tells them there's a fire in the lounge. Right after, Bayu comes in to report more fires in the kitchen and the garden. The masters rush to put out the fires, giving the students a chance to escape. However, their plan is interrupted when Mr. Amin catches them. Surprisingly, instead of punishing them, Mr. Amin offers to take them home safely himself. Confused but relieved, the students agree to leave. Master Foban gives them a cookie with a sedative, and everyone eats it except Maki, who decides to stay because she has no family. Meanwhile, Master Amin tells Run that all the students have left except one. Realizing Maki stayed, Run thinks about her choice. When the students go back to their families, they are met with surprising changes. Mek and Moore find out their parents are divorced. White learns his aunt sold his house. Fuji and Jean face anger from their fathers. Pinyuing's mom wants him to go back to homeschool because his father is too difficult to deal with. Flings and Beer's parents also want them to return. In a heartbreaking moment, Tibet finds out his mom has died, and he mourns her loss alone. Back at homeschool, Master Prazit tells Maki that sending the students home was part of the school's plan. The students now have to deal with the big changes in their lives after leaving. While Tibet is alone, Master Amin comes to him and tells him that Tibet's father was also a teacher at homeschool. Mr. Amin says he promised Tibet's mother that he would take care of him, and he plans to keep that promise. Meanwhile, Master Freyafon talks to Run about Tibet, saying that Mr. Amin thinks Tibet is the perfect person to continue Master Fut's work. Run disagrees, saying homeschool's projects have failed, especially after Master Fut's death. Later, Mr. Amin talks to Tibet about his past and his mother, suggesting that coming back to homeschool might help him understand his history. Tibet agrees to return. During a nighttime patrol, Master Deluxe is followed by Maki. Master Prazit stops them, checking on Master Deluxe to make sure she's feeling okay and has taken her medicine. He then notices Maki and takes her back to her dorm. Maki asks Master Prazit if the masters are hiding secrets, but he tells her to find out for herself. Mr. Amin gathers with the students who visited their families, waiting by the bus for Nai to come back. When Nai arrives, they all get on the bus and return to homeschool. The next morning, Mr. Amin talks to the students in the common room and reveals the truth. Their tough education is meant to prepare them for the even tougher challenges of the outside world. Later, by the fountain, Maki and her friends talk about their struggles. Tibet opens up about his father, and Maki shares her thoughts about her brother. Suddenly, they hear a noise in the bushes. It's Fling and Pinyuing. Tibet asks if they heard the conversation, and they say yes, but promise to keep it a secret. Pinyuing then tells them about a small videotape hidden in the library that is connected to Run. He shows them the spot, pulling out a children's book, which makes Maki react with fear, hinting at a past trauma. Meanwhile, in the forest, the masters gather for a ritual. Master Amin announces that an important part of homeschool's program is about to begin and asks the masters to be fully committed. Master Prazit says he suspects there is a traitor among them and accuses Master Deluxe because of the strange footprints found near her when she was lost in the forest. In the library, the students gather around a small TV to watch the footage on the memory card. The video shows Run and Master Fut together. Run talks about a nightmare that keeps coming back and how he wants to get rid of it. Maki watches, and memories of a forgotten event start coming back to her. Nai looks outside, sees the masters approaching, and signals everyone to leave and go back to their dorms. The next morning, Maki wakes up in panic from a nightmare about her past. White calms her down, and they go to breakfast where they find a big meal waiting. Master Foban arrives and says that classes are starting and students can choose their own teachers. Moore and Hugo decide to join Master Prazit's class, while Fuji and Jinglai pick Headmaster Yin. Tibet, Nai, White, and Maki choose Master Freyafon. Mek and Jean go with Master Champ, and Pinyuing and Fong select Master Deluxe. Each master shares their story of becoming a teacher at homeschool and teaches important lessons about life and the tough realities of the world. During class, Maki tells Master Freyafon that she wants to get rid of a disturbing nightmare. He agrees to help her and starts her treatment. During this, Maki's traumatic childhood memories with her stepfather come to light, memories that Mr. Amin had erased to protect her. Maki confronts Mr. Amin and asks him about her past. He answers most of her questions but avoids telling her where Run is now, saying she'll find out when the time is right. Upset, Maki sits outside, thinking about her past in the treatment room where Mr. Amin gave her a cupcake before hypnotizing her to erase her memories. Tibet joins her, and they talk about how frustrated they are with the secrets the adults are keeping. Maki says she refuses to stay in the dark and is determined to find the truth. They hold hands, feeling closer as they promise to stand by each other. At dawn, the students start their morning exercises. Nai and Tibet, tired from running, take a break. Nai jokes that it's good the girls are behind. Otherwise, White would tease him for being tired. Tibet then asks if Nai likes White, and Nai admits he does, but hasn't told her. Nai then asks Tibet about Maki, and Tibet says he likes her, but Maki doesn't seem interested in romance. In the girls' dorm, Jinglai walks in with a bouquet of flowers. Bayu asks who sent them, and Jinglai says they're from Hugo. The girls joke and chat about their crushes until Headmaster Yanni enters. The girls quickly stand up straight as Headmaster Yanni reminds them to stay focused. She gives Maki a new class schedule and tells them to follow the updated timetable. In the courtyard, Master Freyafon's class is in session with Maki, Tibet, Nai, and White. They are given cupcakes as part of a ritual meant to help them heal. Though unsure, the students eat the cupcakes. In another class, Hugo and Moore are with Master Prazit, each bringing something special to them. Hugo a bracelet from his brother, and Moore a family photo. To their surprise, Master Prazit throws these items into a pile of sticks and burns them. He says it's a way to get rid of their weaknesses and make them stronger, just like he did with his own struggles. In Master Deluxe's class, Fling and Pinyuing face their past traumas through singing. They talk about how they see themselves and help each other build confidence. In Headmaster Yan's class, Fuji and Jinglai talk with Headmaster Yanni, who teaches them about self-respect and the importance of protecting themselves as women. The bond between students and masters grows, making their learning better. Meanwhile, Master Foban brings lunch to Run, who is surprised to see him instead of Master Freyafon. When Run asks why, Master Foban explains that all the masters are busy with the new students' treatments. Run asks to talk, but Master Foban refuses, saying he's following Master Amin's orders. Run then uses a hypnotic trick to make Master Foban remember his own painful past, causing him to hide under a table in fear. As Run tries to escape, Master Amin arrives just in time to stop him. White, Maki, Nai, and Tibet suddenly wake up on the hill under the remorse tree, with Master Freyafon nearby. Confused, they ask her what happened. She explains that the trance they were in was caused by the cupcakes they ate earlier. In Master Prasad's class, the students are given jellies as a reward for following instructions, which they eat before going back to their rooms. Later, Master Freyafon talks with Master Deluxe about a past event in the forest. She asks who was with Master Deluxe that night, and Master Deluxe confirms it was Master Freyafon herself. At midnight, Headmaster Yanni takes the 3 girls who ate the jellies into the woods, where the masters are gathered. Master Amin picks Fuji for the first treatment and takes her to the treatment room. There, he changes her memories, making her feel angry at her father. The next day, Headmaster Yanni finds Master Freyafon smoking in her office and scolds her. Master Freyafon apologizes, saying she is stressed and worried about the harsh treatments and Master Amin's new methods. Headmaster Yanni understands but tells her they need to trust Mr. Amin for the good of the community. That night, Master Freyafon goes to see Run to talk about Mr. Amin's actions. When she learns that Run might have a way to help, she decides to help him escape from homeschool, showing she is ready to take action. So the moral of the story is if you're going to a mysterious school that offers cookies, ducks, and questionable life lessons, remember, sometimes it's better to just stay home and never trust a cookie.